Hey everyone, it's LJ from Pureco. I've got no little glamorous assistant today. Poor Iana's had her wisdom teeth taken out. So I'm going to have to see if I can answer questions and see them on my laptop. Oh, there we go. Quick, let's turn that down. I don't need to listen to myself, but I'll be able to see anyone's questions. Okay, so today I thought I'd do something a little fun and different. We're going to be using some stamps today. So I've got this, it's like an old shelf from a coffee table, and I'm going to be doing some stamping and kind of show you how to, you know, fake being an artist. You know, there's different levels of artistic ability. So I thought I would just show you this today. So I haven't used this stamp before. This is the Iron Orchid Designs, or IOD, stamp in sunflowers, but there's plenty of other companies. You can't get hold of this one. There's plenty of other brands. So I will show you how to use it in some fun ways. Okay, all right, so these stamps come in some plastic. They're like stuck between plastic. So you'll have two sides. One side will be the back of the stamp, and I usually, depending on the stamp, leave them on, and then you'll have like a softer front edge. So you just need to peel that off. Oh, that's satisfying. So this one comes in two stamps. So yeah, there's one that is a bit tougher and then one that's a bit softer. So just take the right off. So they should have a little bit of a stick to them. And the first thing you need to do with your stamps is what they call conditioning. So what that means is you just get like 120 grit sandpaper and just run it over, because you don't, it just gives it like a bit of tooth, like you do with your furniture when you're going to paint. So I just, whoops, run it over one direction, and it's just taking off any factory finishes, things that might have got on your stamp. Okay, so you're kind of just scuffing it up, really. I'll just do this other one, so use that as well. So it's pretty easy. It's not really a hard thing to do, just scuffing it up. Okay, so make sure there's no sort of bits of fluff on there. Okay, so also in your pack, I don't know if other brands do this, but IOD have masks. So what that is, it's actually a kind of a cutout of the actual stamp design, so that you can do what they call masking, and I'll kind of go into that a little bit, but that's a bit more advanced stamping. So I'm going to do this big sunflower, and a little story about that. It's actually my dad's favorite flower, and my beautiful dad passed away 3 years ago today, so I thought it was pretty apt that I use this today. So, and they're quite stuck down. Don't panic, you're not going to rip them, they're silicone. So oh, it's like an elastic band, you know, when you flick it at someone. So I'm going to be using chalk paint today to actually stamp the pattern on. So all you need is, you need a brayer, which is just basically like a small roller. You can get them from any sort of craft shops. I think I've even seen them in the dollar stores, like the Hot Bargain and that sort of thing. And that's what I'll use to deposit the paint down onto the actual stamp. So because I'm doing it in raw wood, I'm going to use some nice sort of muted colors and then add some bright colors in later, and I'll show you how I can fake being an artist. So I've just got some chalk paint in fawn. Let's bash it to get the lid open. Oh, no muscles today. Okay, here we go. And how is everyone today? All those of you that did manage to get into Freedom on Monday, hopefully you've had a chance to do some shopping. I just feel like I need to go to Kmart and like waste $100 on nothing. So I just pop a little bit of paint on. I've just got a piece of acetate here that I'm using to roll the paint. So I might just pop the stamp on here so if I miss, I'm not getting it on my project. No. So you just run your roller, I don't know, hopefully you can see all this properly, over just to pick up your paint. Okay. I'm just running it over the top. Now you can use inks, you can use any type of paint really over this, acrylic paints, artist paints. You've just got to make sure you wipe them, and then I'll show you here, you've got to make sure. So see, whoops, it's stuck down on there. See here, I don't know if you can see, I've got a little bit on the inside that's not actually the raised stamp section, so I need to wipe that off because you don't want that transferring to your piece. Slide that off. Okay, now all you do when you're stamping, you've got to kind of have a bit of courage. So you've just got to pop it down, and then when you've popped it down, you leave one hand on the piece, and then with the other push down, and try not to stretch it or anything like that, but you're pushing down to push that paint down. If you keep one hand on it to sort of hold it still, then you're not going to have any blurring of the image. Okay, so, and then you just lift it up, and I'll lift this up so you can see, and you've got this really faint, nice image there. Now I wanted this to be faint because I want to show you just a fun little idea. So we'll pop that over there, and I'll show you what I was going to do. So I'm just going to take some artist brushes, and we're going to sort of like colour it in, I guess you could say. So just get a little bit of this paint in the fawn, and I'm just going to dabble that in the middle. Just to kind of emulate like the seeds and that sort of stuff. Okay. And then we'll get a bit of our ochre, which is obviously our sunflower colour. So you can apply this with a palette knife, so you can sort of start, let's move it down, I'll hold this up, you know, pushing that, if you wanted something with a bit of texture, pushing that down and colouring it in, you know, with your palette knife. Okay, it's kind of like just colouring in really, or you can just go nuts with your brush and just start filling in the lines. So it's a really easy way to kind of, yeah, pretend you can paint a sunflower. I mean, I'm sure most of us could. It's quite a, you know, sunflower's not too hard. Also, you can water it down. So just offload your paint, grab a bit of water, and you can do like a watercolor. So it might not show up too much on here because you've got the kind of orange wood, but you can do watercolor as well. And keep adding water. And get like a more muted look. Okay, and I've also seen people going along the lines of the watercolor. You can actually sort of say do it and go out of the lines and then re-stamp over the top, so you've got that really, like you're filling up the negative space of the stamp, and then re-stamping over the top to get your defined outline, and have like the color sort of skirting in and out of the lines. It's really, really nice. So you can kind of do that, like have the watercolor just sort of you know, roughly spread over the area that your stamp is. And then you can stamp over the top of that. So there's heaps of really cool things you can do with the stamps. Like I just really like playing around, especially with the palette knife, doing all sorts of you know, different layers and chunks, and you know, a really great unique addition to a piece of furniture, a drawer front, or you know, cupboard front and all that sort of thing. So it's just hopefully give you some ideas of doing it different ways. You can use these on decor pieces as well, or just make yourself some wall art, anything like that. So I'll give you a little I'll show you a bit about the masking, what that's about. So that is when you have say like you've got a bunch of flowers and you want the you know, one main big flower, sunflower, in the front, and then some other things in the background where the front flower is overlapping. So I'll show you how to do that. So I'll just get the mask out, and you don't have to have these masks. You can actually just grab your stamp and stamp, once you've stamped it on your piece, stamp it again on a piece of paper, and then just cut that shape out. So you don't actually need these masks. So funny, when they started doing this, and it says on the packet, where is it? It comes with a mask, and it was just after COVID hit, and I thought, oh wow, they're putting like face masks in their in their products. That's cool. That wasn't what they were talking about. Okay. Okay, so this is the mask. So basically it's just a cutout of the outline of the stamp that you've used. So you've just got to find where it lines up, which way it goes. That way. Well, this is the fun bit, isn't it? trying to work that out. Have I got the right one? Maybe I've just got it upside down. Aha! Okay, found it. I'm using the right one. Okay, so I've just got to find that one. That goes. Oh, holy dooly, this is hilarious. Okay, I think that's it. Okay, so all you do is you place your mask over your existing stamp. So this sunflower will be out front of your image, okay? So once you've done that and you've covered it over, that's when you can add leaves, stems, that sort of thing. So I'll just pull a leaf off. And I'll show you how to keep stamping. Just wipe off my brayer so that you've got your image in front and you don't have that overlap of over the top. So let's get a bit of fern. Okay, so I'll just get a bit of this out. And rolly, rolly, roll. Okay, so the brayer is really good because it gives you a really nice thin coat. Okay, right, so you can put this leaf down over the top of that mask. So you hold it down with one hand so it's not moving, and then lift it up and you can see how that leaf has overlapped over that mask. So we'll take the mask off and you'll be able to see there that the leaf is behind your sunflower now. So it gives you that sort of freedom to add more and more elements to your piece, and you're not kind of overlapping and trying to sort of rub bits out and that sort of thing. So it's really, yeah, it's kind of easy, but you've got to think about the order that you're doing the stamps in. So you would think that you would, the last thing in the front would be your last stamp, but it's actually the opposite way around. So the image that you want in the front of your image and everything else behind, the image in front is your first stamp. And then you go from there, you cover up that first stamp, and then you go nuts with all your other elements. So we'll do another one there. And you can just you can use inks as well. You don't have to just use chalk paint. You can use mineral paint. Just make sure you get the paint and mineral paint off your stamp. So wash them as you go. Okay, so make sure that's covering correctly. And you go again. Hold it down, and then just keeping one hand down, you just pat that down, lift it up. And again, probably it's getting a bit hard because that fawn has really dried in the back. What I might do is just get a bit of clear wax. and wax that so you can see it gets a bit darker. Okay, so you can see there I've got the fawn outline. Question, is the brayer a lot better than a roller to apply paint? I find the brayer better because it's got the hard surface. It's easier to keep it on top of the stamp rather than sinking down into the low areas of the stamp. So that's, you can still use a roller by all means. You don't have to have a brayer. That's just what I prefer. But yeah, a roller would work as well. You just have to have a really light touch over the top of the stamp. But yeah, it's a really fun way to add something different to your pieces. You can do it on the top, and it's not going to, if you just use paint, it's not going to add too much sort of layers and texture to the top of a piece. It's really nice over raw wood, over painted. You can stamp over both our chalk and our silk finish. With the chalk, I personally would do a layer of matte sealer beforehand, which is what I did on this piece. I did a coat before I started the video of our matte sealer over the top before I started stamping, because if you make tiny little mistake, you've got a little bit of play to get rid of it. Angela, fabric, yes, you can use the stamps on fabric, anything. I've used them on canvas bags to do like for Christmas presents. You can do it, I've seen people do it on denim jackets, everything. So when you're stamping on your fabric, once you've done it and your paint's dry, I would heat set it with an iron first. So get some brown paper or baking paper over the top of your stamp, of the stamp piece, sorry, not the actual stamp. You'll melt the stamp with an iron. And then you can go and wash it after that if you've heat set it. I had to first go and took your tips. It turned out great. Oh, awesome, Leanne. That's awesome. Thank you. Kay, yes, I would seal this after. If you've used silk paint, you probably don't have to, but because it's chalk, I would definitely seal it afterwards. It's just same as if you're painting, really. If you use inks, depending on what type, there is permanent inks that you can use on your furniture, but there's also other ones that are water paints. You can also use like the water pens that you get from the art shop. So you could stamp it with paint or ink and then you know, color it in with your water paint pens. So that's another idea as well, if you're not as confident with a paintbrush to get in all the colouring in between the lines. You can use your water paints as well, which it'd be beautiful, so muted and soft. It'd be really lovely. So yeah, hopefully that's just been a little bit of fun to show you an easy way. It's pretty simple. The stamps are all reusable. Also, I'll give you a tip that I use a lot. So, you know when you've got, I don't know, a problem piece. So a piece that is just not coming up how you want. You've got an uneven surface. It's just giving you a nightmare. So an example of what I've used this stamp. So this one is called Kind Regards. So it's basically just script. It's a letter. So it's, you know, it's got a dear someone and then sign. So I had a table that, stop saying I had a table that I stained, and no matter what I did, I sealed it first, stained it, I don't know, but it was just a nightmare. I couldn't get it even. And in the end, I thought, oh, I give up, I'm going to do something else with it. And what I did is I actually did this stamp where it had the piece and it was a little uneven, I just put a little bit of paint, not all over this one, but just in little spots. And I actually use metallic paint, so you can do that as well. Your metallics will work, and your stains will work for stamping as well, as long as they're water-based, because then you can wash them off. If you're leaving paint and gunk all over these, eventually the crispness of the stamp will be dull. But anyway, so I put a little bit of paint on this stamp, and then when I put it down, rather than pushing it all, I kind of, I guess, tickled it. I just kind of wanted little bits of words here and there, and what that did is it disguised that the uneven stain, but also just gave it that little bit of extra dimension. So because when you look from the side, you know, you just get that little flash of metallic. So I had it was a grey stain. It wasn't Pureco, it was a while ago. And I used silver paint with the stamp. So it was just a really cool idea to kind of hide something that I just couldn't fix. And I didn't want to sand it all back and do it again. It was just for myself, but I would seriously, you know, if you do have something like that, it's not always a disaster. Like, I discovered this is an awesome way to cover that up, which gave extra dimension, a bit of texture, and no one ever notices this table having uneven stain. They go, oh wow, look at the little metallic bits in it. That's all anyone ever says. So just a little idea to keep in the back of your head if you have a piece that's an absolute nightmare. It's something to think about. There's always something you can do a bit fancy, or stick a transfer over it, you know, something like that. So hopefully I've given you some ideas of extra little bits and pieces you can do on your furniture. And thanks for listening to me today. Iana does all the prizey things, so I don't even know who I have for a prize, but if you don't mind, I'll wait till next week when Iana's here, because she's more organised than I am. She keeps it together. I'm going nuts this week. It's so lonely here without her. So thank you for listening, and I will see you next week, and have fun painting, everyone. Thank you. Bye.